Okay, in today's Maimonides mitzvah moment, I've got 5 mitzvahs for you. First 2 mitzvahs pertain to the first day of Sukkot, the positive mitzvah to rest and the negative prohibition against doing work on the first day of Sukkot. And then the next 2 mitzvahs pertain to the last day of Sukkot, to Shmini Atzeres, positive mitzvah to rest on Shmini Atzeres, and negative prohibition against doing work on the last day of Sukkot, otherwise known as Shmini Atzeret. And the final mitzvah of the day, the 5th mitzvah, pertains to Pesach, or more actually it pertains to the day leading up to Pesach, the day prior to the Seder night. There's a negative prohibition that forbids us from eating chametz from midday until nightfall on the day prior to Pesach. Of course, you can't eat chametz on Pesach proper either, but that's a separate mitzvah for a different day. Back for a moment to we had a whole series of mitzvahs. I think it was 6 positive mitzvahs and 6 negative prohibitions that pertain to not doing work on the different chagim, on the different days, on the different holidays throughout the year. The first and last day of Pesach, first and last day of Sukkot, Shavuot, Rosh Hashanah. We explained that the work that is prohibited on each of these days is similar to the work that is prohibited on Shabbat, with one huge major exception, that you're allowed to do work to prepare food on the chagim. You cannot do that on Shabbat. You can't cook, for example, on Shabbat, but you can cook on the chagim, and you can do cooking and other food preparation, food-related work on these chagim. However, there are a couple of major points to keep in mind when you talk about the fact that it's permissible to cook on the chagim. The first thing is that it has to be directly related, that the work has to be directly related to the food, to the food, directly related. So for someone to say, I'm going to renovate my dining room or my kitchen on the Chag so I can better prepare the food or better enjoy eating the food, no. It's got to be directly related to the food. That's point number 1. Point number 2, this has to be a type of work that will improve the quality of the food because you're doing it today. So for somebody to say, you know what, I'm going to go and produce flour by grinding kernels of wheat on the Chag, because it's a step in the process of preparing bread, you cannot do that on the Chag, because flour, you could have produced the flour before the Chag started. Freshly baked bread, that tastes better, so therefore it's okay to do the malacha of baking on the Chag proper, but grinding the wheat, for example, you cannot do that on the Chag. And the final condition is that when you cook or bake or do other food-related work on the Chag, it has to be for food that you're going to enjoy on the Chag itself. You cannot cook on the Chag for food that you're going to eat, that you plan to eat the next day.